Welcome, everybody. We're the Harrises, some of the best football and sports talk you will hear. We got Shelby Harris, current Cleveland Browns player. We got Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr. and myself, Ryan Harris, Super Bowl champion alongside my brother Chris Harris Jr. Fellas, let's kick things off with the NFL trade deadline. Who won? Who lost? Who should have done more, in your opinion?
Man, I truly believe the Lions won completely.
Yes.
If you think about it, they got my brother Zadarius Smith, and just on top of being a hell of a player, he's a great teammate. Somebody who instantly makes your locker room better. He brings the energy every day. But you know why he got traded for it. He's a dog on the field, and he goes out there. He's been balling the last couple games, and he truly brings that difference maker potential to the Lions after they lost Aiden Hutchinson. So this right there answers all those questions of will the Lions make a move because Aiden Hutchinson's down. This right there automatically fixes their defense. They get another rusher out there, and you got to think right now they got to be NFC favorites.
I think the Chiefs made the best move in the trade deadline, being able to get DeAndre Hopkins, right? Number one receiver, a guy that can help Mahomes, who's struggling this year. When you look at TD to interception ratio, and you get a guy that's secure, right? A guy that you can trust that can make plays down the field and also move the chains. And then I'll go number two. I would go with the Commanders, being able to get Marshawn Lattimore. Me being playing with this guy is a real deal. And I don't hype up a lot of corners, but this guy is the truth. He's definitely, when he wants to lock in and really play his game, he's one of the best in the league. So I think him going to the Commanders, them needing that number one guy corner, they have that over there. He's going to fit in great with Dan Quinn. So I think that's a big pickup for the Commanders.
For me, the biggest loser of the NFL trade deadline are the Dallas Cowboys. What are they doing? What are they looking at? I just don't understand a lot of what's happening with the Cowboys. I'm with you guys. Getting Zadarius Smith, it's not going to make up totally for Aiden Hutchinson, but it is going to make a big difference for the Lions, who, let's be clear, they are the NFC contender for the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody's going to beat them. I think they'll have home field advantage at home. And even though the players are in the dome, they still got to walk from the bus inside, and it's going to be cold out there for a lot of the teams coming in for the NFC. So I think that the Lions just kind of secured their top seat. And I'm with you, Chris Harris. I'll tell you what. I mean, getting DeAndre Hopkins for the Chiefs, and that's on top of getting Xavier Worthy in the draft. And to the point where you had Patrick Mahomes say, I was watching the film, I wasn't getting D-Hop the ball enough. I mean, that's the kind of, if you change one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game to say, I got to get you the ball more, I mean, that's the kind of player he is. And I was teammates with D-Hop when he was a rookie in Houston. He's come a tremendous amount of way. One of, I think, the best one-on-one route runners in the NFL. And to add another weapon to the Chiefs, I mean, that's just, that's taking candy from a baby. I don't understand how the Chiefs keep doing it, and so many other teams who are floundering can't seem to come up with a single play that helps their team, or a single draft pick or trade that helps their team the same way that the Chiefs are always trying to win.
Well, let's talk about that Cowboys trade. How does it really make sense? They're talking about Dak's about to go on IR for 4 games. And then you trade a 4th-round pick for a receiver that has less than 500 yards in his career. And the Chiefs are able to go and trade less than that for DeAndre Hopkins. Like, you're talking about a Hall of Fame receiver, you're able to trade less than that for. That's, the Cowboys have been in this position before when they traded Amari Cooper for peanuts. You know what I mean? So, and then you see the Browns are able to go, and then they traded Amari Cooper for a 3rd-round pick. And so you got more out of them, the Browns did, for the trade to the Bills than the Cowboys did for the trade to the Browns. And then they go here and they ship a 4th-round pick for a young receiver. And then also with your quarterback going on IR, it just make sense. But then the Chiefs, I swear to you, I don't know who gives the Chiefs these hands, but they're stealing. Every year they find a way to get a player they need for nothing, and the league just keeps letting them do it. You could blame the Bills for them getting Xavier Worthy, and then just that's just the issue though. Is this the Chiefs are always going to be consistent, and they're always going to make moves that fit them. Then they never oversell. They never go over their means. And they went and got a hell of a receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, and then look at the difference he made less than a week of being there. Less than a week of being there. He's over there, 2 touchdown catches, game changer. We haven't seen this D-Hop in Tennessee at all because of the quarterback uncertainty. But then he goes to the Kansas City with Mahomes and automatically just becomes that top-tier receiver that we know him as. And you got to think about it. So many people wrote him off. Talking about he's washed and all this, and then he instantly comes back right away and shows the world that he still got the juice.
Right, and I expected a lot more trades. Especially Cowboys. They can't stop the run, so they need some linebackers and some D line to definitely try to help them. Be able to have a chance to win the NFC North. It's going to be a battle over there or NFC East in the NFC East with the Giants and Philly and those boys over there. So it's going to be a tough battle for them to make it. Deontay Johnson going to Baltimore. I thought that would be a big deal. But he didn't even get thrown at. I don't even think he got a target versus Denver. So I'm going to be interested to see how he grows there because I always thought he was a good receiver guarding them in Pittsburgh when he was with the Steelers. I always thought he was a solid guy. Guy. He wasn't like AB, but he had the ability to kind of grow and to be the number one receiver there. And he just couldn't get in the same page with Coach Tomlin. So. These trades are going to be these are some game-changing trades. Darius Smith, Lattimore, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper. We didn't even talk about him, what the effects he's going to be for Josh Allen. So I think it's going to be it's a good trade deadline, and we might see a couple more.
Don't forget about the Steelers. The Steelers got 2 games.
Oh, yeah.
They got Mike Williams from the Jets, and they got Preston Smith from the Packers. I guess you can never have enough rushers. That's always the mantra in the NFL. You can never have enough rushers. But to get Mike Williams to go out there and help George Pickens, and then they already got Calvin Austin who's making a name for himself over there. The Steelers under the radar just keep making moves to enhance themselves, and they're already number 1 in the division. So it's just it'd be interesting to see what they do with these new additions going forward.
Well, speaking of some key players, I mean, we saw some key players make key plays this week in the NFL. One, Saquon Barkley jumping backwards over a defender, right? And then 2, we had Garrett Wilson with the jump man catch. If you had to pick one, which one's the highlight of the NFL week for you guys?
I gotta go jump man
Barkley.
Catch. Touchdown.
You go with the jump man.
Touchdown, man. Like I get it. Highlight plays, and the backwards hurdle is so demoralizing for a defense. Because like, damn, what can we do to stop this man? He's literally jumping over his backwards. But when you got the jump, you do that catch like Garrett Wilson did for a touchdown. It's that's points, and it's a highlight, and it's something that'll be immortalized. It's like the Odell catch. We still to this day watch the Odell catch, the highlights from Odell, the catch when he was with the Giants. And this is the same tier. This is on the same tier. Garrett Wilson will be immortalized with that catch. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a Jordan guy after this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just the way that happened and just the way he was laying out for it. Obviously we all like highlights, but when you score touchdowns and you help your team win, those are the ones that get immortalized in history.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate. I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley, man, because just the way he spent on him and then jumped in the air and turned his back to him, that was kind of freakish right there. Those are things that like you don't even practice those. He's all reactive, and just seeing how he's just changing that team and going out there and wowing those players, and you can see the whole team reaction. Right, he just gives them they have a whole new confidence and energy over there just because that guy's in the building, man. So. But Garrett Wilson, what he went out there and did, I think he caught it like with the inside hand up, right, and had the pose. So I think somebody might have done that. We might have seen a high schooler. Somebody's probably done it out there, but it was still beautiful, him to go out there and make plays. He needed a play like that.
Yes.
Right? He needed like a breakthrough play because he's having a tough year this year. And I don't know if he's going to go with Jordan. Devontae Adams, I think he's with Jordan. I don't know if he's going to let 2 on the same team make it in. How it's tight spots over there with MJ. But I love that catch, and I'm glad that he got that because he definitely needed that breakthrough.
To me, the best play is for the same reason you said, Chris. You got Garrett Wilson making a play that now puts him on the level, right? He's got the talent, the speed, clearly the hands. Every one of us in our career, each of us had that play that was like, whoa, okay, and it puts you at that level. However, the better professional, the more impressive play was Saquon Barkley. And Chris said, you said, hey, he was reacting. And what that means in the NFL is you're anticipating. And so when Saquon Barkley's anticipating that defender to tackle him, and he spins out, while he's spinning out, he's looking downfield, seeing somebody coming right down at him. Now, that speed, you could feel that speed on the field. You hear that defender coming, and to have the awareness and anticipation, not only to jump backwards, but then to lift your feet. I mean, I don't want to try that on the couch. I'll break the couch, but I mean, that's a hard thing to do, let alone, as you said, Chris, to practice. So I think, the best play is for Garrett Wilson and his career, but the more impressive play to me was the anticipation in the moment by Saquon Barkley. But I'll say this, I want to see it in January. Nobody's questioning how good Saquon Barkley is in the regular season, but do that again in January.
Man, the Giants really just dropped the ball for the rest of the league and letting Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles. It's not even fair sometimes, but that's that's the league. But we're halfway through the year right now. What are you guys thinking for MVP, DPOI, and Coach of the Year?
My MVP right now, we got to give it to Lamar Jackson, just by him. His play out there has been phenomenal, right? He's throwing more accurate. He's running the football. He's running that. I think they're the number one offense in the league. So I'm giving it to Lamar Jackson. I don't think anybody else is. Only person you can say that's been close to him, you can say, is Derrick Henry, right? And so it's that nobody on offense. I'll throw Josh Allen in there. I feel like he's doing solid. He's out there making plays. He's balling. Other than that, I would have to give it to Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Josh Allen. Coach of the Year, Dan Quinn, because he completely changed the Commanders. Washington got a totally different swag. I know they added the quarterback, but the defense is playing better. Everybody on that team is looking better. So I'm gonna go with Dan Quinn. Let's go Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. Right? It's tough because Bo has had a great month, but we got to see Bo. We want to see this happening versus the top teams, right? I feel like Jaden Daniels has had great games versus the top teams. So that's my quick little three-piece right there. Lamar Jackson, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels. Did I get all the picks right there?
Who do you have for DPOI?
Defensive Player of the Year right now?
Mm-hmm.
Man, let me think about that. I'm going to come back to that.
Give me for the MVP. Give me Jaden Daniels for the MVP. He has a
Rookie
higher
of the Year?
No, I want the MVP for Jaden. I want the big one. This man has the Commanders, going to the playoffs, possibly winning that division. That's incredible. I mean, it's virtually the same team, right? In terms of things like 60% of the players are the same. He was the only quarterback to have a completion percentage for 85% in his first 2 games in NFL history. Right. I mean, this is a drastic thing. And conversely, I always think about with MVP, if you take that player off the team, is their team still good? If you take Lamar off the Ravens, I still think they win. Right. I mean, but especially with Derrick Henry, but you take Jaden Daniels off the Commanders, they're at the bottom of the barrel now. So that to me, I like him for that. I honestly think for Defensive Player of the Year, Aiden Hutchinson still has a shot to me to win it. I mean, his production, even before his injury, is going to be higher than some guys' season, right? I mean, that's something to be said for that. But to me, I think especially with the Steelers continuing to play, when we're now entering that stage where the flex games come into play, you're going to see a lot more of T.J. Watt. You're going to see a lot more of the Steelers. I think T.J. Watt's going to get that one. And then for Rookie of the Year, man, that's a tough one. You got so many great rookies right now, but I just really think impact-wise, you have to look at a guy like Bo Nix. I mean, yes, they still have the winning record, and they're not, reaching that top tier yet, but you look at what he's been able to do in terms of turn the excitement around for the franchise, turn the team around, change the narrative. I really like what he's been able to do. Xavier Worthy would be in there for me if he can come back and get a bunch of more production, but I really like Bo Nix and what he's been able to do in terms of Rookies of the Year, with Jaden Daniels winning the big one.
What do you think about Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year, I'm gonna go Who's our guy? Who's our guy out there at the former Philly coordinator who's in the Arizona Cardinals? What's his name again?
Jonathan Gannon.
Jonathan Gannon.
Like
I was
Gannon.
not a fan.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Gannon. But look out. I mean, these Cardinals are going to the playoffs. That's crazy to say. Considering where they were a year ago to where they are now, incredible job by Jonathan Gannon.
Man, I feel you. The Cardinals are definitely a surprise, but for me, I got to say MVP right now. You really got to go with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson does everything that he's been doing with his arm and his leg, and I think he really has improved his arm. We know what he can do with his leg, but his accuracy, I feel like just the way he's controlling the game, it's just is levels above where he was before. So I gotta give the MVP to Lamar. Defensive Player of the Year. See, it's tough, but I think it's going to go to somebody in the AFC North. It's going to either be Trey Hendrickson, who leads the league in sacks right now for the Bengals.
11.
He's been balling. He had 4 last week, and he's a consistent guy. He's going to be consistent for you every week. He's going to give you 1 to 2 every week, and he's been the anchor of that defense. Or like you said, right, TJ Watt. TJ Watt has really been that force. Not just getting sacks, but creating turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what separates TJ Watt from a lot of guys is he doesn't just get sacks, he gets the ball out. And anytime on defense you can force a turnover, you're helping your offense out, especially if your offense has been struggling. That's how you get your offense going, is getting those turnovers, giving them the momentum. Rookie of the Year, it's no question it has to go to Jaden Daniels. Like I know, a lot of guys we've all been some type of connection to Denver, and everybody wants to say Bo Nix, but I got to give it to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels his team is fighting for the number 1 spot in the NFC East, and they've just been really doing the damn thing, and then also with them adding Marshawn Lattimore, I think it's only up from here for them, and so Rookie of the Year definitely got to give it to Jaden Daniels, and then Coach of the Year. I gotta say, I think it has to be Dan Quinn, man. Because honestly, even less than the Cardinals, nobody thought the Commanders would be anything this year, and that's just being honest. Like they surprised everybody this year, and they're doing it in a way where you have to respect them. You draft a young quarterback, number 2 overall, and he's the bona fide leader of this team. He's a star already, and it's just it's the complete package, and so. I really got to give credit to Dan Quinn over there, but for the Commanders, but definitely Dan Quinn for Coach of the Year.
I want to add a guy. We got to add one guy in there for the Rookie of the Year, Brock Bowers, because he's about to break every receiver record.
Ooh, he should
at the tight end
6'8".
position. Yeah, and they're feeding him every time, so we got to throw him in there because he's gonna break some records. He's gonna have the most catches, receiving yards as a rookie. So I think he's definitely going to be at the end of the year. We're going to be talking about him being in that conversation.
Well, since we all have that connection to Denver, what did you guys make of Denver losing to the MVP favorite here on the Harrises, Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens?
Man, they got mollywopped. That was bad. That was bad. And it's just, everybody has bad games, but, I really think the Ravens they wanted that game more than the Broncos did.
Yes.
They had just lost to us, the Browns, the week before. They really had something to come out there and prove. And it just so happened the Broncos were their next opponent. And so it was just it was a total beatdown on all sides of the ball. But that's how dangerous the Ravens can be. But also that shows you how much work the Broncos need. And it doesn't help when you have receivers fumbling the ball and giving it up. And when you're playing the Ravens, you got to play damn near perfect football, because they're going to run it down your throat, and then Lamar's going to make plays with his arm. And they have the receivers, especially now with Deontay Johnson going there, to be able to to make you make it a mismatch. And so I really it sucks, but the Broncos just happen to be the next opponent after a loss, and they took out all their frustration on them.
Yeah, I think Coach Harbaugh went and talked to the brother from the Chargers and got the whole game plan, because they did the exact same thing, but perfected it, even did it better, right? When you play against the Ravens, you got to come out hot on them. You can't have a slow start and let them get a jump on you. We come out, we have turnovers early by a drop. I think the guy could have caught the ball. Then now they have a short field. We're not tackling Henry. Every guy, Coach Joseph puts guys right there in position to make the plays, but our guys he's breaking 3 tackles every play, right? So I can't be mad at Coach Joseph because he's putting them there to make the plays. And when you do that, you come out, you don't want to tackle, you want to start slow. That's a recipe to get smacked in Baltimore, right? If you don't get ahead early, make them be a one-dimensional team, you pretty much have no chance versus this team. Because once they get comfortable running the football, Derrick Henry, he gets in his rhythm. It's pretty much ball game, and that's what happened. Lamar didn't even have to throw the ball. He wasn't stressed. I think he went 16 for 19, right? Damn near a perfect game. And, and he just put his feet up and put himself in the recliner and chilled, man. It was an easy game for him. And that's what happens when they get up early on teams.
Well, each of us on this show will tell you that it is very hard to play in Baltimore. It's it's not the toughest, but it's very hard to go there. Part of it's the time. Most guys are coming from west to east. That's a steady 1 o'clock game. You're going to Baltimore. You see that on the calendar. It's likely to be a 1 p.m. game there, Eastern. And so that affected the Broncos. But there's always a game, and each of us had this in our career. There's always a game that teaches you there's another game being played that you're not playing. And that's what the Broncos found out. The Ravens are a championship pedigree organization. When you give them a minute, or what was it, 52 seconds at the end of a half, and let them score, and they're getting the ball back, and then they score, and I think it was like an 11-minute drive. I mean, it went down to like 6:50 or something. I mean, there was a little bit of time left in the third quarter. When that happens, it's over. And the thing that I was shocked at is that it seemed like the Broncos players were not aware of the situation. We're not aware, and you can't look ahead and things like that, but you better know as an offensive or a defensive player that what the clock looks like going down. To the point where the Broncos, even if you're not going to get the runs, call the runs to get the timeouts out of the way. You can't, you have to play a different game in the final 3 minutes of every half. And the Broncos did not show up. And that was the big problem. And in addition to the turnover, absolutely, and stopping Derrick Henry, I understand it's a tough thing and a decision to make, but you have to make that decision on Monday that you're going to tackle on Sunday when it comes to Derrick Henry. That decision wasn't made defense-wide. So the Broncos were awoken to their inability as a young team to finish in the broader game of how to win games against championship caliber teams. They've got time to fix it, but you got to find a receiver outside of Courtland Sutton. You got to not have back-to-back penalties in the red zone. I mean, that's ridiculous. This is the time of year where those things have to go away. And for the Broncos, the penalties, the drops, the misses, the lack of production on third down, I mean, these are all things that have been consistent issues that haven't been addressed.
Man, but also there's some positive from the Broncos. Johnson Cooper, they just extended him for 4 years, $60 million, 33 guaranteed, a homegrown talent who a 7th round pick. That's where we relate. 7th round pick who really made his name and has just constantly kept ascending, going up. And that's, as a player in that locker room, it has to make you feel good when you see the team take care of a player who's been out there giving it his all for you and been balling. And that just sends a great message throughout the locker room that if you do what you're supposed to do and you go out there and you produce, we'll take care of you at home. And so definitely just want to give a shout out to him because I've seen it firsthand when I was there, how hard the kid works and everything that he puts into it every day. So, it's just, especially as an older player, I love seeing, just like when Draymond got paid. Yeah. I love seeing the younger players when it's their time to get paid, they get paid because, when you see how hard they work, you see the time they put into this, it's special. This is, it's generational money right there. And it's, it's something that these guys work for and that they deserve. And so just hats off to him and congratulations.
And they traded Barron from, and to the Cardinals, right? Yeah. Browning went to the Cardinals, right? That's a good move for him too, right? Because he's on contract year. He has a chance to go kind of shine and put himself out there. Get him some great film and be a free agent, right? And there's always rushers. You can always go in there. You're a young rusher. You have talent. You can find a job, right? So I think it was smart for the Broncos to pay Cooper, not let him go be a free agent, and then we'd be stuck with Ellis and Benito, the only two rushers. At least we got a good, nice. The Broncos have a nice 3-man rotation with Drew Sanders coming back later on, and so I think they made the right move of being able to pay this guy. And it's a new management. I didn't play under this organization or these owners, right? But I love the way they're doing. I love the direction they're going, and hopefully they can continue to reward these guys that are making plays that's been in the system, And so I'm glad for that kid, and that's what they got to continue to do. They got to continue to. We got to build some talent up. They got to build some talent up, and they need some weapons. Like Ryan said, he has no weapons really. No guy. We got to do an investigation on Mims.
Woo.
How do you become a Pro Bowler and just fall off the cliff like that? I haven't seen that too many times, especially at receiver. If you're good, your rookie year at receiver, you're usually going to be good the next year, right? And he averaged 19 yards per catch last year. How does that just completely evaporate to none? So we got some question marks we might have to talk about maybe later on, a couple shows later on, but he definitely needs some more weapons around him.
I like the investigative segment. And we got to put that on the show. We got to investigate, and I think with Mims, it's up here. And each of you know this. You can have success when you get to the NFL, but it's the NFL because if you have success against one of us on this show, we're going to remember that. And we're not watching film when we're playing you. We're studying film to destroy you. And I think that's what, Mims, he gets in there as a punt returner to the Pro Bowl and has those big catches. But then that becomes a target now for opponents, and dealing with that, there's literally, like, it feels like a physical shift for you when you're in the NFL of saying, oh, they're studying me. I still remember Tamba Ali clubbed me on the first third down of the game because he knew I was going to short set, and in the moment he did, I was like, oh, he studied film on me, as I'm going to the ground. I mean, you can feel that moment, and you have to respond. And Marvin Mims just has not responded yet.
Also, you got to think about who was his quarterback back then. He had Russell Wilson, the deep ball thrower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bo Nix is still trying to feel it out. And, younger quarterbacks, they, throwing that deep ball, it's risky. And so when you have Russell Wilson, who is the bona fide deep ball thrower, when you have a guy like Mims, that's exactly what he needs. And so I think it's at this point, they went and drafted, a couple receivers, and they brought more guys in, and it's just you got to find your niche. You got to find where you fit in, but you got to find it quick, or they will replace you, and that's just the reality of the league. And it's not to be harsh, but we all know this. If you're not producing, they're going to bring somebody else in that will. And obviously, Marvin Mims has the talent. He made the Pro Bowl punt returner, and you want to be a guy that can do both, to be a punt returner and be a reliable receiver. Obviously, you got the speed to take the top off of defense, and so. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
Right. And fellas, we're basically at the halfway part of the season, more or less for every team, depending on bye weeks and stuff. So who do y'all see as the most surprising team going into the season? Or so far this season?
Got to be the Commanders. Man, got to be the Commanders. And I guess you could say the Steelers too. But, if we're going to go NFC, AFC, I say the Commanders and then the Steelers. Or you could say the Cardinals. That you got two teams really in the NFC you can really throw up there. But Commanders, no one really ever expected this. But, it's a testament to their future is bright. Their future is very bright. And just like you say with the Broncos, that's another surprise. Like, their future is bright. And that's why you can go pay guys all around them, because when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, all that money that you pay that top quarterback money you pay people, it goes all around to other positions, and you can really build talent around your team, and that's how you really can compete. When you hit a home run at quarterback in the draft, then it's nothing but it's nothing but blessings after that. And so the Commanders and the Broncos are in a great position in the future for once the Broncos get Rush's contract off the books, they're going to have all the money in the world to really build that team around Bo Nix. And then the Commanders, the same thing. You got 4 more years until you got to pay that quarterback. And so you have 4 more years of true competing and paying people around them in order to really be, the most competitive team. And so that's who you really got to be worried about. But right now, I would say the Commanders are looking real good and, up there in the division. And then the Steelers, the Steelers, we always know they play great defense. And, that's just the motto of the Steelers. But with Russ coming back and, with Justin Fields going up there and handling everything that he needed to handle. And, I loved his quote, a couple of weeks ago when he was just like, well, it shouldn't have been a QB battle if I would have did more. You know what I mean? So he's taking ownership of, he knows he could have did more and it wouldn't have been a QB battle. But, then Russ steps in and then Russ kind of gets the offense going more. Man, the Steelers are looking good, and then you're seeing old Russ. And that's what I'm sure Broncos fans would have loved to see that Russell Wilson, but you're seeing old Russ rolling out, hitting the deep ball, hitting the intermediate throws, is doing, looking like the old Russ again. And so, Steelers are definitely the Steelers offense and the Steelers in general, I would say are a surprise.
For me, the surprise, absolutely the Commanders, unbelievable. Just the total just transformation into a championship caliber team. Paying attention to detail. Yes, they have Jaden Daniels, and everyone else is doing their job too, right? So there's been a huge culture change there at the Commanders. I'm not surprised about the Steelers because I've played for Mike Tomlin. He develops young players, and he is brutally honest. So to hear Justin Fields say that, he could have played better. I guarantee you that's exactly what Mike Tomlin told him. Hey, this couldn't have been an issue if you'd have handled it right, and you didn't. So now you have opportunity to work. We're not going to abandon you. He says every day, I believe in the development of young men. And so he's going to develop players. And once you get that kind of clarity as a player, you have no choice but to be accountable. But I'll tell you something that is surprising in the negative side. I just am so surprised that the Jets have such a bad record, right? Aaron Rodgers has been healthy all year. And they have a lot of work to do to try and become a wild card team. I mean, they're fighting against the Chargers, the Broncos, and maybe a couple other teams, but that race is getting tighter now as the season goes on. And they've got they have to go on one of those 8-9 game win streaks to be even in the conversation.
Right. My surprise team, I had the Vikings, for a team that was bad last year, not knowing who your quarterback was going to be coming into this year. You find a steal with Sam Darnold. Now your team is 6-2, right? You're right there in the thick of things. So I like what the Vikings have done. A solid defense also. The defense has been well, we kind of expect that from Brian Flores to come out there and have a great defense, but they putting it together out there, and Sam Darnold's look great. Also, the Chargers, I think their team, I thought was going to fall off the cliff and be bad in the AFC West, but by losing Keenan Allen and a Mike Williams, and they lost tons of guys,
Eckler too, yeah.
Eckler, so I thought they would have a big drop off, but they look better, right? They look better, running the football, more physical team. Defense is 100 times better.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary is playing great. Young corners that they got have stepped in and been solid. So I've loved the way that they've came in and changed the attitude over there with LA. So those have been my 3 top surprising teams. The most disappointing team, I would have to go with the Saints. I had high expectations on them, especially playing for DA and playing with Joe Woods and that defense. I thought they would be one of the top defenses. And with Marshawn Lattimore posting a Debo, Tyrann Mathieu, all these guys, Alontae Taylor, they're all nice, all great at DBs, but they just are not going out there tackling well. They're not playing up to their potential. So I was definitely surprised by the Saints and the Cowboys. You usually expect the Cowboys to come out and be a good team, but they've disappointed everybody down here in Texas, right? You can't go anywhere out. You can't go anywhere out here without them being mad about the Cowboys, right? So those are the disappointing teams, the Saints and the Cowboys.
You expect the Cowboys to fall apart. You expect them to fall apart in the playoffs, not in the regular seasons. That's the classic Cowboys way. Man, but you got to think about it like this. the first college football playoffs just came out. It's the first bracket. This is this is the first year with this
Brackets. You got brackets.
whole bracket. The top 4 picks. In the top 4 picks, you got Oregon at number 1, Georgia at number 2, Miami at number 3, BYU at number 4, and then and then you got all these other teams. You got Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame, Penn State, Indiana, Tennessee, Ohio State, and Boise State. Man, for me, the team that I'm excited to see, if they can pull it off, I'd be excited to see what Indiana can do. Indiana has been turning some heads, and you can talk all this shit, all this trash you want to about, their strength of schedule. Oh, it's not that good, but you can only do what they give you, and they're giving you these teams, and they're beating them down. They are beating them down. Look at it like this: Indiana beat down Nebraska, the same Nebraska team that Ohio State struggled with. And so that's so. If you got to do comparisons like that, Indiana's looking good, and it's out of nowhere, completely out of. You can't tell me a single soul told you before the season Indiana would be in your college football bracket in the beginning of the season. What do you guys think about this bracket? And what is the surprise team that can make a blast in this bracket?
I'm trying to figure out how Notre Dame made it down there.
Oh, hold on now. Hey, I don't see Kansas nowhere. I don't see Kansas nowhere, dog. Get out of here.
We're having a bad year this year. We're having a bad year.
I knew that was
coming. Man.
Yeah. That's why I like it in the locker room, man. You got to go after guys' teams right away. 100%. Get off Notre Dame, man. Talk to God. Go ahead.
Got to, man. But I wouldn't want to play Boise, even though y'all don't believe they can be there in the end. I wouldn't want to play that running back. I don't care what team you're on. You don't want to play Genty the way he's running the football. Also, Tennessee, that quarterback, he's a young freshman, but he's a guy that's ascending and has greater talent. I wouldn't want to play him either. So there's some matchups. Cam Ward out there. Georgia's defense, they're coming along. It's gonna be a good tournament. I'm glad they're doing it this way. Aren't y'all? Hopefully they might add a couple more teams later on, but I'm glad we got a real playoffs. Now we can really see who's the top team. No more of this beast, because we're in the bowl era.
The BCS
bowl. They're putting in the computer and who has the strength of schedule and all that, And I'm glad that now we can finally play it out, have a full tournament, with 12 teams, and let's see who's going to come up and stand on top of the mountain.
The first thing I want to say about the college football playoff: pay the players. Each of these networks is getting $1 billion per game.
Man.
So pay the players. Number one, everybody talking about the college football playoff mentioned to pay the players, okay? Number two, some of this is going to even itself out, right? I mean, whether it's the Big 12 championship game, the SEC championship game, so having 3 teams in the top 11, if you're the SEC, I mean, that's a different deal, right? I mean, I think it's just it's going to look different at the end. I don't think BYU's real. I don't think Miami's real. But you better know something. Oregon and Georgia are for real. And those teams, I mean, Georgia was in a close game that wasn't so close, and their quarterback threw 3 picks, right? I mean, if you play as bad as possible and still win, it's hard for me to say that, you're going to have that situation happen over and over again. The only interesting team to me is Penn State here. If you get Penn State or an Indiana and they win the Big Ten, that's when you can actually start believing in them in terms of that. So I think the Big Ten has a chance of having a team or 2 teams kind of hosting a playoff game, whether it's one team earlier on in the second round, another team hosting it. But I mean, Penn State, it's better than expected, and we don't really believe in Penn State in their regular season rankings, but between Penn State, Indiana, Oregon, I mean, there's going to be a ton of teams there that have a chance to really make a difference, and this will look drastically different after championship Saturday.
Man, I don't think anyone really thinks that BYU is going to. I'm not saying they won't be in the playoff bracket. I just don't think they're going to be having the first round bye. And then also you're talking about Oregon and Penn State. This is the first year I've seen Oregon win a big game, and Penn State still has never won the big game under James Franklin.
Yes.
I'm talking about every time they have a big game, they somehow lay a dud. But Oregon this year, they finally won that big game against Ohio State, and it gave you something to believe in later in the season. And I really think that this might be the year for them, considering just how dynamic that whole team is.
The reason why they got that bye is because they're number one in the Big 12. So whoever the top 4 teams, those major conferences, whoever wins the championship, they're going to get a bye. So right now, I don't think BYU wins the Big 12. I hope not, but there's really no team that can really. Only Colorado's the only team that has a
Do you
chance.
see a CU appearance? Is that
Colorado,
something that we can talk about?
I see CU making it in here because you got all of us know they want them in there too, right? Like you want Dion in the brackets, okay? You want prime brackets going on, and they got a schedule that can do it too, and so that's where that championship game is going to come up big.
BYU versus Colorado in the Big 12 championship. Winner makes it to the college football championship. I would like it, man. Dion and them, that's going to make a lot of money for them and boost up Colorado. And it's crazy because Colorado was trash when I was in the Big 12, and seeing the turnaround, man, he definitely deserves a lot of credit for him. So he should get head coach of the year for sure.
Yes.
It's definitely going to help him, make the jump to Florida State.
Oh, 1,000%. Man. You starting the rumors.
Hey, it's not a rumor, though. You know what I mean? I mean, what's he going to say? They're going to offer him $15 million. They're going to offer him $15 million.
Who come on, think about it. You became prime time at Florida State. It was.
Are they going to offer it to him?
Yeah, that's what I said. We
might happen if Notre Dame beats their ass this weekend. You look out. You know what I mean? You're right.
Man, Notre Dame is going to hope they stay upright.
Dion, man, Prime is a Notre Dame fan this weekend as they take on Florida State. He wants Notre Dame to win. Yeah. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining. We're the Harrises. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and share it with some friends. We'll catch you next week.